Good evening, everyone. This week for our video discussion, I chose to make a presentation on Havre de Grace, Maryland. I chose this partially because I recently have relocated to the area and didn't know much about the town. And when I started researching it, I found out a plethora of history with regard to the Revolutionary War. Havre de Grace is a city located on the Susquehanna River at the point where the Susquehanna River and the tidal flow of the Chesapeake Bay meet in Harford County, Maryland, approximately 45 minutes north of Baltimore. The city of Havre de Grace does have a connection with the Revolutionary War, as I mentioned, although no major revolutionary battles were fought in Maryland. Maryland, and specifically the city of Havre de Grace, has many connections with the war activities, and that history has actually been preserved throughout the city. First and foremost, the connection involves the name of the city itself. The accepted story of the naming of Havre de Grace is that during the Revolution, when the French general Marquis de Lafayette, saw the town, he exclaimed, "C'est la de Havre de Grace." Sorry for my French accent. His remark was found in his journal, and it was also used in a survey map, so we do kind of have some connection to a primary source that suggests that when he came to the city, he did say that. So apparently the town reminded him of the French seaport Le Havre, which was originally named Le Havre de Grace. And when he saw there, when he came through the port with George Washington, that's what he exclaimed. And the city was later adopted in 1785, and the city, through its incorporation, gave it the name that Marquis de Lafayette mentioned, which actually means Harbor of Grace. In 1777, Havre de Grace was just a village at the time of only a few houses, but it was burned by the British. Again, Havre de Grace later on during the Revolutionary War in 1781, George Washington and Rochambeau both had troops camped in Havre de Grace en route to Yorktown, and then once again after Cornwallis's surrender. The famous story is that Washington slept here. These stories are told throughout Havre de Grace in pictorial and pictures and other murals and things like that throughout the town that say that Washington did sleep here in Havre de Grace, and perhaps he did. He would have traveled the Old Post Road, and in fact, there are historical markers throughout Havre de Grace that indicate that Washington traveled Old Post Road with his troops at various times throughout the Revolutionary War. The same is true for Count Rochambeau and General Lafayette. And as you can notice in the slide, I was able to capture some pictures of historical markers on Old Post Road that have kind of given a link to what Washington and Rochambeau did in the city of Havre de Grace. In 1799, the year Washington died, Havre de Grace was considered to become the capital of the United States. A detailed map and survey of the area was drawn, but Havre de Grace lost to Washington, D.C. by 1 vote. So it's kind of interesting that the White House could have been located in Havre de Grace, which kind of shows or lends to the support of how important Havre de Grace was. Although Havre de Grace has not commemorated or preserved its revolutionary history with any type of formal structure or park or anything like that, its connection with the Revolutionary War is reflected in the names of the streets that are located here today. There's Washington Street, Lafayette Street, Congress Avenue, Revolution Street, which is a major street that goes through, Union Avenue, which will take you down to the pier, and Adams Street are all historic historic street names in the district of the city. Although the town's significance can be questioned since it is not a battle location or anything like that, Havre de Grace's location on the river is probably the reason for the early existence of the town and its importance as a travel way during the war. Um, it also appears that it served as a good logistical camping location for Washington's and Rochambeau's troops at different times on their way to Yorktown. So it must have also been seen as a pivotal strategic location for the Patriots because, as I noted before, the British burned it down to the ground in 1777.